Hogan Gidley, National Press Secretary for the Trump 2020 campaign, former Principal Deputy White House Press Secretary. First, Hogan, great to have you with us. This is, as I said, as Ed and Michael agreed, we watched the best opening night of any convention that any of us had ever seen by either party. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I absolutely agree, Lou. Thanks so much for having me on. I mean, the Democrats spent 4 days trying to tell the American people that this country is inherently evil and that it's the cause of the world's problems. That is a flat-out lie. In 1 day, we changed the narrative here on our side and explained the truth, that this is the greatest idea ever realized. This country, our America, is a beacon of hope. It is a beacon of greatness, of strength, of compassion across this planet. And I have to tell you, when I saw some of the reviews come in and I watched what I saw those 4 days with those Democrats and their doom and gloom and their embrace of radical ideologies like socialism, there is no way the American people are going to buy what they are selling.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, and I think that the American people are watching a party, particularly last night, in its appeal to minority voters, particularly African Americans, Hispanics in this country. I thought it was a compelling appeal. Vernon Jones, Herschel Walker, you had Maximo Alvarez. Those are some of the most compelling stories by just wonderful people. It was just a great thing to have instead of the, if you'll forgive me, the sort of predictable political figures who attend these conventions and dominate them. It was wonderful to see Americans dominating.
Absolutely, and because we do dominate. This country is great. I'm so sick and tired of the Democrats trying to say it is not. And Max Alvarez was one of the greatest speakers, as you just brought up. When he looked to the camera and you saw tears coming up in his eyes, and he said, hey, I listened to the Democrat convention. I've heard those policies before. I've heard that agenda before. I fled that communist agenda. I left Cuba. I will not go back. We cannot go in the direction of the failed policies of socialist nations, of communist nations. That, to me, was one of the most impactful, because this is someone who experienced how horrible a communist regime actually is. And he said, I'm hearing the exact same language coming from the Democrats. That is, quite frankly, scary. It is ominous, because that's what the Democrats are trying to sell as our future. We cannot go to socialism. Our convention kicked off, and we're talking about the greatness of this country. It is the land of promise. It is the land of opportunity. It most certainly is the land of heroes. And this president has taken us to record-setting highs in record-setting time. And if we get 4 more years, we're going to be back to a level that has never been seen before. Right. He is so focused on making sure the lives of all Americans, regardless of race, religion, color, or creed, are improved. And you saw it in the first term. A second term will bring more of that peace and more of that prosperity.
The president said he was going to be president of all Americans, and he's proved it once. He's going to have to prove it again, and he's also proved he's the man to do just that. Hogan, tonight, Melania Trump headlining the headliners in the convention. Your thoughts about the importance of what she will be saying? Give us your thoughts.
Well, she has been an incredible First Lady. I've gotten to know her in my time in the White House. I can't wait to hear what she has to say. And obviously, she knows the president really well, being married to him. And so it's always good for First Ladies to talk about their spouses and talk about this president in a way that not just humanizes him, but shows how he is as a husband, shows how he is as a father, and reminds everybody how strong he has been as a leader. It's going to be a great night tonight, and there are going to be a few surprises. So make sure you have your popcorn ready for later on.
Always, always. Hogan Gidley, good to have you with us. Thanks so much.